Okay. Hi, guys. Hi. Welcome. We're starting a live. It is our Thursday night live. We do once a week. I'm Christopher, and this is Angela. Are you Angela?
Yes, I am.
She's still Angela. Welcome in. When we start these lives, I'll usually give it just a couple seconds to make sure the internet connection is connected, which it is. And then we'll go and introduce everybody and give it a couple minutes for people to populate. Okay? Cool. All right. Anyway, like she said, or I said, my name's Chris.
I'm Angela.
Reintroducing ourselves. We are the Dinosaurama. Why don't you tell them about us? Because I'm always doing this blabbering. Our homestead lifestyle and whatnot, etc.
Yes, we encourage people to become more self-sufficient in any way that they can, to learn about skills and health foods and health things that you can do to better the quality of your life, and to do that with your family and to build community as well.
Yeah, hence why we do these educational videos. A lot of people don't want to put in the effort to push. I mean, we live in a society where it's order stuff online, push button kind of thing, and as least effort as possible. Whereas I have the mindset and philosophy, and my worldview is that effort and the pursuing of knowledge and that whole sacrifice that we kind of engage in, that in of itself is the big reward. Like that's there is no growth in stagnation. So we encourage people to do new things and try new things and grow. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So a little bit more about us while I wait here for just a second to tell you guys, if you're wondering what we actually do here, if you're new. We raise a variety of creatures. We raise jumbo coternic quail, which are really great egg layers and meat producers. Angela raises a beautiful selection of, what are they?
Silky chickens
Silky
for
puff-
pets.
Yeah, her pet silky chickens, which are always healthy and popular, and people love them. And we also keep Muscovy ducks, and we have rather lazy bunny rabbits that we haven't been reproducing, but we have bunny rabbits. But it's really not a lot of stuff, and I think the key with that is managing properly. You don't want to inundate or overwhelm yourself. People kind of try to diversify too much too quickly, becomes overwhelming, and when you're diluting yourself in many different areas, even on your homestead, the quality suffers in one area or another, just unless you're managing things proper. All right, cool. We got some folks dropping in. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Dinosaurama, Chris and Angela. Again, thanks for stopping in. Tonight we're talking about, what did I title this thing? Are you killing your flock with kindness? What does that mean? What do you think that means? What does that mean to you, ma'am?
Maybe a little too much attention in physical attention or food or that sort of thing. Not necessarily meeting their needs.
Yeah.
Over meeting them.
Yeah, so we're never going to be perfect in anything. We try to pursue a high quality of performance. And when we look at our chickens, it's kind of a thing we don't think about too much. Noah, YT123. What's up, buddy? Hey, thanks for stopping in. So we try to be perfect, or in our mind we get a little upset when we fail. But one of the things that is quite easy to do with animal care is kind of overcare for them. What I like to call fat dog syndrome. The dog that everybody loves, and they feed and feed and feed. And unfortunately, that adds up. You've seen those dogs.
Yeah.
Fat dog syndrome. So are you damaging or jeopardizing the overall well-being of your chickens with overcare? This is actually pretty more common than you think. Okay? In fact, you had somebody call about potentially an overcare issue, overhugging.
Yes, too much handling.
Too much hooking. All right, so the way we usually break these down for you guys is I usually write an outline so we're not running all over the place and we get through things. We're going to talk about defining what this means, common mistakes, overhandling, overcleaning, and then we'll go over how to address some of these things and a couple other things. So like she said, overcare, or the overcare of your, and in this case we're talking chickens, but I guess it could apply to a lot of animals.
Yeah, really any pets. Any animal. It doesn't have to be a pet type of animal.
Yeah, but we're talking a lot about chickens because it's getting into spring. It's chicken season.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys know this, eggs are expensive. They're very expensive right now.
Yeah.
So everybody is thinking about raising chickens. So what is the overcare? It refers to well-intentioned but excessive or inappropriate actions that inadvertently harm the health of your flock or your flock's well-being. Can you hit the gritty? I don't know what that means. I guess I'll try to hit the gritty later. Did I say nitty and gritty?
Maybe?
I don't know.
I don't
It's a common
know. Sorry.
So why is this happening? And I'm going to let her talk because I talk too damn much. But I'll do the intro. So why are we over caring for our animals? Emotional attachment, sometimes dependence too. When we're feeling depressed, we, petting kitty cat nonstop. It could be a chicken. It's a type of dance. Oh, I'm elderly. I don't know these young people things. Come on, man. Type of dance. I am from the 1980s. So let's see here. What was I saying? So why this happens, people get emotionally attached to their animals. They overcare to them. And most importantly, I think what we do is we humanize all of the creatures. On the animals we interact with, to kind of humanize them. We think of our cats and dogs in a human way. Which, yeah, like giving them affection, human affection is great. But, these animals have their own behaviors and adaptive traits. And so when we start interfering with those adaptations and traits, we can jeopardize their well-being, not just their physical well-being, but their mental stress levels too can start to
And part of
impede on
that
the
too
creatures.
is sometimes people don't necessarily understand the communication and body language of their animals.
She's a chicken whisperer.
So sometimes it can be easy.
Shadow ban. Is that a flight suit? Oh, hey man. No, it's just my regular everyday guy
His
clothes.
outdoors man suit.
The worms are in my
yeah.
head and they wiggle. That sounds like a parasitic infection. Right. Anyway, go ahead. Tell your story about chickens.
Oh yeah, that just along with potentially overcare. Sometimes people don't necessarily understand the communication, body language, and such, or the needs, the nutritional needs and such of their animals. So they might overly fuss over them.
Yeah, if you guys, anybody new getting into critters this spring season, or maybe you're thinking to get a new kind of animal, take a look at its background and learn about the creature, learn about its needs and what it's going to benefit most from. Make sense?
Yeah.
Because we do get people calling us. We have customers, and they'll ask, hey, my animal's doing this, and my animal's doing that, and they're describing behaviors that are obviously abnormal and concerned. And sometimes it is an overcare issue, like there's too much stimulation. But that's what we're going to talk about next. All right, I did that intro. Why don't we talk about, and I'm going to shut up, the most common, I think, probably one of the most common things that is showing a little bit too much affection towards an animal. This is, I think, the most dominant way because we enjoy this thing.
Overhandling. Is that what you're talking about?
Stuffing them full of food.
Yeah. So overfeeding, and so food is something for us humans that brings people together. It's a time where if you're eating dinner together or having friends and family over, going to a restaurant or whatever, time to interact and have fun, and it gives you something to do. And it's an easy thing to do with animals too, and enjoy their company and see the excitement that they might show as they're eating yummy foods. So it's like a time to spend with them. People like to feed extra foods, snacks, and treats, or maybe even not have a limit at all on their main source of food. So then, essentially, what happens?
Tacos here. Hey, man.
Essentially, what happens?
We're talking about feeding our chickens way too much till they get fat.
They overeat.
Yeah.
And they may look, cute, and it may be fun to see how excited they get with eating different types of foods and such. But what can happen is they may become obese, or they might develop is it visceral fat?
Ectopic fat. They're going to get fat around their organs.
Their organs.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And that can be damaged. It can make life difficult for them because now their organs, if there's fat around their organs developing, then it'll make their organs work a lot harder for the bird to be alive.
Yeah, now humans and chickens are different physiologically, obviously, but there are some foundations or fundamentals that are, pretty much on par. We don't want to get too much excess tissue, fat into the system. That can be a stressor over time. You know, even as humans, we're adapted to have fat. We're supposed to have fat. Obviously, this time of year, and you know, it comes from our ancestral background. And the chickens as well. Their ancestry is a wild jungle fowl from the South Tropics, and so it's easy for them when you're giving them a ton of food to secure the calories on their body as fat. Sounds like something I would do. Give them loads of treats. Yeah, that's pretty common. There's good treats. So, can you be loving to your animals? Yeah, you can treat your animals nice with treats. What's good treats for my chicken,
well,
and how do I not overfeed them that treat?
You're thinking it's just like a slight supplemental type of thing, and really it should be like maybe 10%, if that, of the diet that they're getting. So there's there's different things that are good for them that you could buy or that you can have in your kitchen. But yeah, like there's dried bugs.
We just talked about chicken scraps in the last video. Like
there's plenty of food.
Certain kitchen scraps, you know, vegetables and other whatnots. You know, look into
whatever
good.
you're giving them, in moderation.
In moderation.
If it's a protein, if it's like a meat, then they do love eating meat. But still, you don't want to overdo, because you want to keep their body weight at a good weight, because that if they end up gaining weight, then they're going to become lethargic. They're not going to be doing their chicken stuff and interacting with their friends and scratching and pecking and having a quality life.
Yeah, so like the overfeeding of chickens, and the reason we mentioned that first, because it's so common and it's very psychologically, I think it's another one of those inherent things with us. Because one of our reward mechanisms, you know, we get a dopamine rush when we feed, when we eat something nice. And as a gift, part of our culture, like a human culture, is we give food as a gift when people come to visit, or food as a reward. Food is a very central, like, positive experience for us as humans. And so we kind of transfer that kind of psychological apparatus onto our chickens. We humanize them in that way. And we're going out in the yard and, oh, I like you so much, here, have this. And that's great, but when you're doing it all the time, that is that'll start to add up if it's not, you know, like she said, it's not in moderation, and it can start to add on to the chicken. Especially if you're feeding them something they shouldn't even be eating, first of all. And people do that, they don't know.
Yeah, like breads and crackers and such, that really isn't going to give them much nutritional value. It can make them feel full, and then they won't eat the foods that they should be eating. But or
moldy fruit, like the old fruit. People don't realize, I mean, you see animals scavenging, so intuitively they're assuming, oh, hey, chickens like the fruit, and I have some old fruit here. Of course, it can be very, very dangerous for them. You don't want to be giving them too much fruit in the first place, but then the mold, you're introducing potential toxins from that.
When you do feed them snacks, so the thing with chickens is they love to eat. They're like goldfish. They just love eating, or you can call them pigs with 2 feet. And
they are very responsive to food. I trained my worthless chicken, Speckles,
to come when he calls her.
When I call her, I'll go, Speckles a chicken. Because I trained her with little, like food treats, little cracker pieces. But she's an idiot. She won't let me pick her up.
In order to keep it a good experience for you, because it's just fun to give them treats, but also a healthy experience for them, think of different ways that you can make the treats go further. Perhaps give them like seed type foods, like a handful, and spread it out on the ground so that they can hunt and scratch and peck for it. It takes longer for them to consume it all. Sometimes if you're giving them a snack that they're able to eat up really, really fast, it just kind of like makes you want to give them more. So if you have ideas of how to give it to them so that it takes them longer to eat that smaller amount.
Yeah. Shadow Man, he must have did something bad. That's how you get that name. I catch my little doggy in a chicken coop eating their food all the time. She loves it. Oh, must be good food.
Yeah, it must be.
Dogs eating it.
Yeah.
All right, so when you're overfeeding, if a chicken is overeating, again, it's common, especially if you don't know about the feed. There's a lot of high-calorie, low-nutrition foods and feeds that you get in a bag that'll fill the chicken up. And they'll start, especially when you're giving them more than they actually need, because the chicken just keeps eating.
Yeah.
They just keep eating. They'll keep eating. And they'll start putting on excess body fat. And there'll be some signs. It's kind of hard to see because they're feathery. But the behavior changes. And you can start to feel the fat.
Yeah, yes, you can. They have, so they will fill their crop. It's like this pouch in right below at the base of their neck, and they'll fill that. It'll keep filling, and then later when they're resting and sleeping, that food will start. It'll go through the digestion process and move down into their body. But you'll be able to tell some chickens. You'll see their behavior. They might eat a lot more or just act like they're super hungry when they shouldn't be super hungry. They just want to keep eating. Some of them are gluttonous, like they just want to be, they just love to eat. So sometimes you have to curb how much you're giving them. But yeah, you'll be able to feel they'll be getting stockier. You'll feel fat reserves on
They
them.
start doing this. They do. They have the labored breathing after getting heavy. So pretty much like humans in that regard, generally speaking. You know, they're putting on a lot of weight. They start to show the signs. So I think that covers that with overfeeding. It's pretty obvious, but really, man, that's probably the easiest thing to do. And again, I really like kids. You know, I have children and I care about kids and I like families, and a lot of families have chickens. And the kids are always an integral part of raising them. So I'm concerned about them too, so they have a nice experience. So if the children are always feeding them because they know the animals respond to that, that's something that you might want to manage and help them understand, the consequence of feeding and overfeeding their chickens if they're feeding them treats nonstop.
You could also do food type treats that aren't fattening, but would help give them something to do. For example, some people will hang like a head of cabbage or lettuce suspended in the air so the chickens can pick at it. There's different types of foods that can be given in that way.
And plus those things act as, mental stimulation for the animals. Believe it or not, the chickens do benefit from stimuli in the environment where they're pecking and investigating and having new things introduced. So that's something else we can mention. All right, that's probably number 2 on the pet stand.
Yeah, overhandling. Why is it? I
really like my pet chicken. I want to pick it up all the time and pet it nonstop and squeeze it and hug it. Why is this bad?
So,
I thought it was good. I like being hugged. My chicken should like being hugged, damn it.
So this comes back to what we were kind of mentioning in the very beginning, is understanding the behavior and communication of your animal, your chicken. And part of that is just watching what they do, watching the kind of things they do together, and the flock hierarchy and how they just how they interact. So they it's not like a normal thing for them to be picked up and cuddled often. That's not something they do in their social culture, what you call it. But they certainly can be very friendly and adaptable and enjoy the attention from people. There's lots of chickens that enjoy sitting on people's laps and just the cuddles and attention. But doing it too often can cause stress. Sometimes even just holding the bird with your hands, because we sweat through our hands, so that means heat is escaping from our hands. And birds, they're at a higher temperature, so that could sometimes they can get a little overheated just from us handling. You'll see them panting, which is just it's a way to relieve heat, but also it could be stress.
I have a chicken question.
Sure.
I thought of this chicken question. So this is probably a question people have, or they don't even think of it. But some people want to pick up their pet chicken and they're chasing it all around until they catch it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So like, come here, I just got you. Come here, I want to pick you up.
And
so you guys are familiar with Jane Goodall when she started hanging around the chimps. She didn't run after the chimps and hug them. She took her time. Do we have to be that careful? Do we have to be chimp level aware when dealing with chickens, or how do we acclimate them so they become used to me, so I can get near them, start pecking them up and interacting?
So if you want to have easy to interact with chickens, it is good to start with young birds like chicks and just handling them daily, a couple minutes a day, and talking to them. But if they're already older, or maybe you didn't do that and they're older.
What should we talk about?
Whatever you want. The point is that they're hearing your voice And you're saying,
that
like,
makes sense.
it doesn't matter what you're saying. If you think about, like, when you talk to a dog or even a cat, if you say something
Do they talk
and
back?
then you end it on a high note, like you're saying a question to them, but it has this like loving sound, they respond to you with a positive energy. So it doesn't matter what you're saying, but that being positive.
Could you give me an example of high note ending? Pretend I'm a dog.
Do you want to go for a walk?
That's a happy.
You know, that kind of
okay,
thing.
I can see that. That's that.
Or who's a good guy? You know, like that kind of thing. Anyway.
So that kind of stupid language is good for the chickens?
The point is for them to get acquainted and adjusted to and used to your voice being like a positive thing. So then when they hear you talking, if you're walking toward them, they're going to run to you.
Are they like sensitive to my... Will they be able to smell me like a dog, or are they not that sensitive?
I don't think they're that sensitive, but they color and
they do have very good vision.
Body movement too. They know they recognize who you are, so they will know, like, they know who I am versus who he is.
Yeah, if you guys are new to these, chickens are actually they're not stupid like you think, because they're always like...
Yeah.
They're actually pretty intelligent. They recognize their environment. They know who's who. Like they know each other.
And it's because they're prey animals, so they recognize things and they're always on the alert.
So if you're acclimating your pet chickens, like you want to interact with them more, just be present in their environment. Let them hear your voice. They'll know you're not a predator. You know, if I walk into a strange bunch of chickens, they're going to freak out. But if the owner walks into the bunch of chickens, they're not going to freak out. Just they're that perceptive.
And it might even be they're fine with strangers being on the outside of their pen, but if a stranger enters their pen, then it's like an alarm.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to you saying, like, if I'm chasing my chicken down to hold it, is that an okay thing to do? And well, if you're let's
my thinking is I want to break this chicken so it knows it's getting held, and I'm running after it. I'm like, you're getting petted.
So this is a negative experience for the bird.
Okay.
If the bird is under stress, and it's
Don't do
really
that.
like animals in general, pets in general, you want positive reinforcement. So if they're highly stressed and scared, possibly terrified, you picking it up and holding it is then communicating to it that this is bad. Like this is, there's nothing good about being held. I'm going to be feeling terror.
I disagree. I trained my little pig with constant holdings.
But
and
food,
petting.
and
food,
you talk to her
yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
So you can enjoy holding and snuggling your birds. If they're not used to it though, then make sure to have calm energy. Don't be chasing them down. Try to, encourage, get down on their level instead of, because some breeds are more energetic and they move around much faster.
Important chicken thing, this crap pops in my head every couple seconds. Important chicken thing, not only overhandling, but proper handling.
Yeah.
Proper handling. If you don't handle them properly, they will not want to be picked up.
And food is a really easy thing, like with most pets, to use as something to work with them because they love food. But just help them to get used to your movements. Then you can have them eating out of your hand. You can squat down to their level so they're used to you, because you would be getting closer to them to pick them up. So now you're training them that this is a familiar thing before you actually do grab them. And then, of course, there are some personalities that are more mellow or breeds that are more mellow that you can just pick them up. But the less stress, the better. Yeah.
Okay, I think that covers that with handling. So, over handling an animal, anybody ever date somebody who is clingy? I think that's the clingy version for chickens.
Yeah.
Like the chicken is like, oh my God,
it is important.
Very clingy.
It's very important to allow them enough time and balance to enjoy being a chicken. So it's not natural for a chicken to be like a purse chicken, like in your purse and like with you all the time.
I'm
like,
free.
They want to scratch and peck and talk with you.
Yeah, I like you, but come on, I need space.
Yeah.
Don't pet me all the time. All right, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Overhandling, proper handling. Okay, this is important. Over cleaning the environment. Some people don't clean the coops at all, and then people are like keeping them spick and span constantly nonstop, which also isn't really the best. So briefly, what's happening when you're over cleaning is you're eliminating all of the microbiota, all the little organisms living in the environment. Well, remember the COVID, everybody was washing their hands constantly, living in isolation, being perpetually sterile. And then when they picked a flower, they dropped dead because they couldn't, it was just too much. Like, they got
Their
sick.
immune system.
Yeah, so it's the kind of same with these chickens. So if you're cleaning their environment constantly, especially where they're sleeping, where they're breathing, and all that stuff, keep it clean.
Like spot clean it.
But we're not doing laboratory experiments in there.
Yeah, you're not eating your dinner off of the floor.
Right, the chicken is becoming acclimated to the environment, and it's becoming acclimated to the organisms that are everywhere. They're in the coop, they're outside of the coop. So if they're going into the sterile coop and then they're going outside, it can be a little bit of a stressor, and it can stress their immune system. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't let it get filthy either.
Right.
So a filthy...
You want beneficial organisms in there, and it'll go to a point though if the bedding gets soiled, and so beneficial organisms and such, they'll help break down the bedding, and it'll become it's like a healthy type of process. And of course you'll like mix it here and there and then add new. But if you let it go too far, not mixing it, letting it get soiled, then that's going to become, there's going to be other bad organisms that grow in there that can then jeopardize their health.
The majority and the vast majority of living biomass on the planet is microscopic.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a whole bunch of elephants and whales that make all that weight. It's the microorganisms. So the microorganisms are fascinating. It's really fascinating. I want to go on to a tangent about that. But we co-evolve with all these things, and same with the chicken. All right, cool. So don't over-clean. Keep it clean, but not sterile with bleach constantly. Yeah. I mean, I'll bleach a thing out. Like
not
maybe
bleach.
I'll spray it down and clean it out. Like a disinfectant.
A mild type of cleaner meant for the birds.
Yeah, like a disinfectant. I'll clean it out like once a year.
Quick note, you don't want to use anything strong, especially
or ammonia
with birds, because they
have respiratory
are prone to respiratory issues, so that's breathing. So yeah, you want to use mild cleaners, or something that's meant for
the coops.
That type of thing. Yeah. And then let it dry out.
Does the vinegar work?
The white vinegar?
Vinegar?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I don't want to talk about this so much. It was excessive supplements. That's really not an issue. I thought it might have been. But improper handling of injuries and illness.
That is something people do very often.
I was going to skip it. Angela says don't skip it. Yeah. So another thing people do, they show way too much overcare to these chickens where they're treating them out of concern, but it's going a little too far. And you're suggesting it's the excessive supplementation or supplements.
Yeah, sometimes people, they want to make sure they're doing everything the best they can, and that's really good. That's good. But sometimes people will give them supplements in their water, electrolytes, like Nutri-Drench. There's different products. It's just vitamins and stuff.
Chicken Gatorade.
In the water, and they'll do it over frequently, like just a little too much. It's good to do once in a while. It depends on the breeds too. Some breeds like Silkies, they do have a higher need for some vitamins and such than maybe like a typical layer chicken. But really the best thing to do is just to feed them a good nutritionally balanced diet, food that is giving them what they need already. Yeah,
the electrolytes.
Yeah.
They're going to be in their food. Like their food's going to meet, if it's a good food, it's going to meet their nutritional requirements. Even in the heat, when they're panting, they're going to need a little more water.
Yeah.
Now, why are we treating with the electrolytes or these supplements?
So a good reason to use the supplements is your bird stressed for any reason? Did it get injured? Is it sick? Did something scare it really bad, just acting wonky? You know, whatever. Did you just get a new chicken and transfer it to a new place, so stressed? Those would be great reasons to give it supplements to boost them. Or maybe you noticed that they were acting off. Maybe it seemed like a neuro kind of thing, where they just seem like they're walking unbalanced, dizzy sort of. It might be that they're low on something, or wry neck is a low vitamin, certain vitamins. So there's different reasons
Sorry, go ahead. I just
to
thought of
give it to
something.
them and for a period of time. If your birds are perfectly healthy, then you can give them, maybe once, every 2 weeks or once a month, that sort of thing. But ideally, you want to just be feeding them a good feed.
I would have forgotten. I had to say something. Okay,
Yeah.
so because it popped in my head,
I'm
because
finished.
Angela sells silky chickens. She has very nice silky chickens, and something that might be stressful for those chickens is, people want to interact with them constantly when they get home, and that's not the best. They should have a little
Yeah, they
time
need
to
a
acclimate.
downtime.
So, if you're getting a new bird and you're going to be treating it more like a pet, like it's a family member, like you're going to be interacting with it, you're going to have this tendency, like you got a new pet. I want to play with it constantly. And she just got here to her new, oh, I don't know you, lady. Stop picking me up. Right? So it needs that time.
Yeah, because stress in general, just for any creatures, including us humans, stress can suppress the immune system, which can just make it easy to become ill for whatever reason.
And the new environment may have, illnesses or pathogens that chicken's not hardy to quite yet. But would be okay otherwise, unless its immune system gets suppressed that way.
Yeah, or maybe if it gets breathes in some dust or something, gets kicked up, their immune system being suppressed can just a sneezing.
So what should I just got my new chicken. I'm really excited. I want to play with her. What do I do? Do I just ignore it constantly, or
No. So you want to offer your food that you're going to be feeding your new chicken right away. Hopefully the chicken you just got already ate food from where it was, so then you can start eating the food that you have it in its own area away from your current birds. So a quarantine area where it'll be calm, quiet area. And you don't really want to be handling them too much. Just want to talk to them so they can start getting used to your voice and the sounds of the area of this new place. Yeah, this is the main.
I thought those are good. It just popped in my head because that's a concern, because I'm thinking of getting new chickens. All right, cool. So we talked about do not overfeed. Common mistake. People do it. It's very easy to do, and it's hard to tell because they're covered in feathers. It's like if somebody wore a big puffy winter coat all year long, you're not going to tell.
So it is important. That's a good point. It is important to handle them for the sake of inspecting them for their health.
Yeah.
So, it depends on your setup. Sometimes you literally, I have silkies, so I have to pick them up and put them in their coop. But so I'm handling them daily. But once a week or something, just keep an eye on them, watch their behavior, and handle them once in a while to check them for different reasons, different health reasons.
All right, so overfeeding we talked about, overhandling we talked about, overcleaning the coop, using too many supplements. Oh, and here's a good one, last one I think we'll talk about, is improper treatment of injuries, or over-treating an injury, or proactively or prophylactically treating an injury you think might happen, like giving antibiotics when they're not necessary, that sort of thing. So what am I doing wrong when I'm over-treating an illness or injury? What shouldn't I do if my chicken is sick or injured?
Well, immediately start pumping them full of antibiotics.
No, don't do that.
Right.
Don't do that.
You said you shouldn't do.
Yeah, what should I not be doing?
Now you want to assess the situation. You want to isolate your bird into a quiet, clean area, preferably something that's not too big, so then they can kind of be calm, and watch them to see what they're doing and what the condition is. Is it something that seems like it's progressed a good bit?
Wait a minute. I forgot. We're on the YouTube. Neither of us are veterinary professionals, and I highly suggest with any injury, illness, or signs of stress in your chicken, you take them to a qualified veterinary professional. That is all.
So
that's my disclaimer.
It is important, very good. It is important to be giving them, like I mentioned just a few minutes ago, giving them health checks so you can know if something's off or not about your birds. But anyway, you're going to want to look at them, make sure maybe sometimes there's an injury that somebody hasn't noticed and it's gone a good while. So sometimes you do need to tend to them medically pretty soon. But there are products available that are not so harsh. For example, Vetrex. It's like it's like Vicks Vapor Rub to humans. It's like a natural oil type thing that's really good for their any kind of respiratory issue.
We're going to do a video about chicken. What was it? The chicken medical kit, right? Like an easy put together medical kit. So we should have that out soon.
And there's
about all this.
like topical things that aren't aggressive products to use that will help the bird, but they do have a pretty good ability to heal. So sometimes we may what we do with them may cause more stress to them.
All right, so I don't know anything about chickens. I know a little about chickens. I'm just saying, if I'm a random person, I don't know too much about chickens. My pet chicken's injured. I'm really upset. My intuition, I want to pick it up and pet it and comfort it.
Oh no, yeah. So they're
that
gonna
would be that would be an example of overloving
if
your chicken in an injury.
Chicken is injured, it's super stressed. So
when you're stressed, it's harder to heal.
Yeah, and extra attention is going to exacerbate the situation for your bird.
So when we have an injury or something, like if a puppy, one of the silky chickens injured, they're social. Do you keep another chicken with them to keep them calm, or is it best to not have that in there at all?
It depends on the breed and the personality. So with silkies, sometimes there are individuals that are very, very like sweet-tempered, very mellow, and will deteriorate quickly if isolated. And they're such social creatures. All the chickens are super social. I do encourage when you have a bird, even if it's just a regular tempered chicken, but it's not. It seems like it's having difficulty with the will to push itself to eat or drink. Having a buddy, a friend, often will help them, encourage them to eat and drink, because the buddy is going to be talking, and which is going to be calming to the injured or hurt one. And when the good healthy one is pecking at the food and drinking, it does encourage their instinct.
They mimic the behaviors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as long as it's the buddy is a good tempered one to do that with, that might be a good thing to do if you have a bird that is having a difficult time with the will to survive and you're trying to do what you can. But if it's totally fine, if the personality or the situation is where the bird is, it still seems like they're eating and such, what you want to do is put them in a quiet area that's clean and cozy and low lighting to reduce stress as much as possible instead of handling them.
If this is your state champion, blue ribbon, top tier chicken, get that professional advice.
Yeah, and there's obviously, we're talking in a kind of like a vague way. Like there's poultry vet groups available on the Facebook, and lots of material available, and there are vets who will see poultry. So definitely look into medical stuff, health things, just even if you don't have anything going on, just so you can have some knowledge.
Yeah, and if you're new to the chickens, just learn about the common illnesses and injuries you may get. I think we did a couple live videos about common illnesses and how to treat them.
Yeah.
But there's a lot online. I'm not trying to peg the channel here, but there's a bunch of information out there. Okay, I think that'll about wrap it up. We talked about a good amount of stuff here. Talked about feeding. We already discussed how to treat these things so we don't damage them. But that's not too uncommon for people to show too much attention to a bird and stress them out. And giving them feeds extremely common. I mean, I've seen fatty chickens before. It's not uncommon. And people treat them like pets. Even ones that aren't pets, people just throw the scraps out constantly. We just did a video, remember? Don't use your chickens as a trash can. And people like to use their chickens as a trash can sometimes because they don't want to waste. And it can, add up. It's an abundance. Thank you both for your time and knowledge. Oh, thanks, Taco down there. Thanks, man. Anyway, I think that about does it. Friends, neighbors, countrymen. Enjoy the cold. So hopefully it'll be spring soon. I cannot stand the cold myself, but we went snow hiking, which was pretty. And it'll be chicken and plant season. It's actually getting into seed season, seed starting.
Mm-hmm.
I guess down south they probably start seeds a little sooner than us, but it's getting that time of year, so cool.
Yeah, if you guys are new to our channel, feel free to subscribe and support the growth of our little channel that we're building and developing. And yes, please let us know if you have any questions.
Here's
or
the deal.
comments.
We try to put out decent, like practical, useful information. I do not like the internet, like 95% of it, because it seems to be like entertainment and time wasting or misleading. I really encourage, and this is the whole thing we do here, is encourage self-driven personal development. You're not in competition with anybody. It's just betterment of the self to enjoy one's life to a greater, a level, a more fulfillment. Okay, so I try to offer when I interact with people, or even on this thing, here's a piece of knowledge, or here's a point of discussion that maybe you will endeavor, on your own, and seek knowledge in that. Maybe that's an interest to you. Anybody have kids? You tell your kids one thing, they don't care. You tell them something else, and like, oh wow, dinosaurs, and they really want to look into it. Well, it's the same as we're adults. Something piques our interest, and we become curious. I should certainly hope that the curiosity in us as adults is not squashed down by so much diversion here on the internet, and then we can pursue something. And that's why I like the homesteaders, because a lot of the homesteaders, or even people who are just thinking about doing that, those are self-starters. Those are people who are like, hey, you know what? I want to learn how to make an egg. I want to learn how to grow a tomato. I want to do that. And they may not even know why, or have quite yet defined why that's a reward for them, why it has value. So I encourage you to do that too. Why is that valuable to you? What does it have the meaning for? And look back underneath the deep layers, because when you get to the bottom of that onion, man, that's a foundation that you can apply. It's a transient foundation. It goes from many different areas, not just growing tomatoes. The why you're growing tomatoes actually, well, this is why I do this thing. This is why I do this thing, because it's a foundational property of who I am. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of rambling. I don't like, but that's that. It's a little more endeavored. But okay, guys, I'm going to shut up. And I think that's that. She's going to force me to go take a shower because I'm filthy dirty. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, have a beautiful night. It was very nice seeing you.
Yes,
We hope
thank
to see
you
you
guys
again in
for
the future.
watching.
Taco, if you're still here, thanks for coming in, buddy. Bye.